Yeah, look who's back. Elogee and his Make a Mega series. It's been a clean 7 months since the last installment of my Make a Mega series, and in that time we've had the release of 2 significant Pokemon games, one being Sword and Shield and the other being Pokemon Home. Mega Evolution is completely absent in Sword and Shield, having been replaced by Dynamax, a mechanic which is much worse than Mega Evolution in my opinion, and it is my hope that if Dynamax is still around next gen, they will at least bring back Mega Evolution, but ideally get rid of Dynamax and give us back Mega Evolution. Though I do vividly recall an NPC in Sword and Shield mentioning that Dynamax is a Galar specific phenomenon, so it probably won't be returning, but I hope Megas are returning. Anyway, the other game I mentioned, Pokemon Home, actually has something significant about Mega Evolution. It has an entire Pokédex database for Mega Evolutions of Pokemon that can Mega Evolve that you have in your copy of Pokemon Home. And this doesn't seem like a feature that would be present if they were trying to retire Mega Evolution as a mechanic completely, as some had theorized. My point is that the dream is never dead, guys. I'm going to continue hoping that Mega Evolution returns and that we get more Pokemon that get Mega Evolutions. And I'm sure, as you can see by the title, I got 2 Pokemon here today that I'm going to be making Mega Evolutions for. 2 bug favorites from Johto. I'm not talking about Scizor and Heracross. I'm of course talking about the version exclusives Ledian and Ariados. 2 bugs that are so statistically weak that they actually need a buff like this, unlike Heracross and Scizor. So let's start with the weaker of the 2, Ledian. Ledian has an abysmal base stat total of 390, including 55 HP, 35 attack, 50 defense, 55 special attack, 110 special defense, and 85 speed. Speed is passable at 85, that's the same as Heracross. 110 special defense is its only good stat. Combined with a terrible HP stat and bad defensive typing in bug flying though, even this stat isn't going to help it. It has 2 mediocre abilities in Swarm and Early Bird, and 1 actually good ability that benefits it in Iron Fist. Ledian actually has access to Drain Punch, Ice Punch, and Thunder Punch in its moveset, so it can take advantage of this. Now if only we could do something about that base 35 attack stat. So seeing as how whenever a Pokemon gets a Mega Evolution, it gets 100 additional base stats, I realized even if we were to drop all 100 of those points into attack, it would be at 135, which is Tyranitar and Salamence level. Which isn't bad by any means, but it just feels underwhelming to give a Pokemon a Mega Evolution only to have it be buffed to the level of a pseudo-legendary. Just feels anticlimactic to me. So I thought for quite a bit on how to arrange this Pokemon's stats in order to make it not only viable competitively while still having some semblance of what it was, I believe, originally intended to be, which is a bulky bug. So for starters, we give it 40 additional attack, putting it at 75, 50 defense, putting it at 100. We're going to take 10 points away from special attack and put the remaining 20 into speed, putting it at 115. This makes Mega Ledian bulky on both sides of the spectrum. Well, as bulky as you can get with that base 55 HP stat. And 115 is a solid speed stat, ideally allowing it to take out opponents before it needs to take a hit, but if it does need to take a hit, it will be able to with its bulk. Another change I'm going to be making is dropping the flying type in favor of fighting type. Ledian has quite a few fighting type attacks in its arsenal that can definitely benefit from stab. Drain Punch, Mach Punch, Power Up Punch, to name a few. With all these punch moves, you may think I'm opting to keep Iron Fist as its ability, and while I considered that, I ultimately decided another ability would be the best to accommodate for its naturally low physical attack stat. And that description probably just gave it away, but the ability I'm giving Mega Ledian is going to be Huge Power. Now base 75 attack is still statistically low, But when you consider Azumarill has base 50 attack, Diggersby has base 56, regular Medicham has 60, and Mega Medicham has 100, you can kind of get an idea whereabout in the power range this Mega Ledian and its base 75 attack would fall. Not hitting quite the explosive level of Mega Medicham, but still supremely powerful in its own right. All of these buffs, I feel, turn Ledian from something that was completely statistically unusable into something viable competitively, yet also not broken, which is my ultimate goal with my Make a Mega series. For a moveset you could run, I already mentioned its multitude of fighting attacks, including Drain Punch, Mach Punch, Power Up Punch, Thunder Punch, Ice Punch, as well as other very useful attacks in U-Turn, Bug Bite, and Knock Off, and even setup and status moves like Defog, Swords Dance, and Agility. Mega Ledian is likely going to suffer from 4 move slot syndrome, but that's far better than what it had to face in its original form. So overall, I'm very happy with how this Mega Ledian turned out. So let's just move it on over to Ariados. Right off the bat, this mon has 10 higher base stats than its Ladybug counterpart, with 400 total, having 70 HP, 90 attack, 70 defense, 60 special attack, 70 special defense, and 40 speed. Its stats are a lot more well-rounded than Ledian's, and it actually has a move pool that complements its stats, unlike Ledian. It has a wide variety of good physical attacks, including Mega Horn and Bug Bite, as well as Sucker Punch to make up for its minimal speed, and plenty of great setup and status moves like Swords Dance, Sticky Web, Spider Web, Toxic Thread, Toxic Spikes. Overall, it just has way more going for it than Ledian. But Ariados still has plenty of room for improvement, which I plan to do by giving it this Mega Evolution. I'd start by giving 35 to each of its defenses, putting them at 105, then 20 points to speed, putting it at 60, and in my original notes I actually did the math wrong, so I'm actually going to reduce the special attack to 35 as opposed to 45, which I originally put. Then combine that 25 with the 10 I had remaining and add it to attack, putting it at 125. This boosts all of its usable stats, making it a well-rounded tank overall. Like Ledian, this also still suffers from mediocre HP, hurting its bulk, but overall it's still tanky enough to function the way I feel it deserves to. As for the ability for Mega Ariados, I actually created a new one. This ability would be called Endless Silk, and what it does is at the end of every turn, it would automatically set up a Sticky Web and a String Shot. The String Shot, of course, affecting the Pokemon already out, meanwhile the Sticky Web affecting future Pokemon coming out, and this would set up the Sticky Web at the end of every turn. So if you try to defog verse Ariados, it can just attack you and then afterwards get up another Sticky Web automatically. That was ultimately what I envisioned when I thought of a Mega Ariados. Something, while not statistically immediately threatening, has a lot of spider-like techniques that just embody the style that Koga represents. That is ultimately the design I wanted for this Mega Ariados, and I feel like this was overall the best thing I could come up with. As for a moveset, Mega Ariados has a ton of viable sets it could run. You wouldn't need to use a move slot on Sticky Web, which would free up moves for attacks like Lunge, Leech Life, Cross Poison, Poison Jab, Mega Horn, Sucker Punch, though you probably won't need that because of all the speed drops you'll be doing to your opponent. Not to mention setup options like Swords Dance, or just other neat tech options like Throat Chop if you want a dark type attack that isn't Sucker Punch. Standalone, this mon will function similarly to how Buzzwole did, being able to set up and tank hits forever. However, its most important dynamic would be to support a team with its Sticky Web support. So that is how I would make Mega Ariados, which is going to bring us to the end of the video. That is how I would buff Ledian and Ariados to make them not overpowered, but certainly viable. Let me know what you guys think about these designs. If you disagree with how I would make them, let me know how you would. and let me know how you feel about my Make a Mega series. It has been 7 months, like I said, since the last episode. I'm sorry for the inconsistency, but you know how it is. I have no plans on stopping this series. I mostly just lack motivation to make videos nowadays, but I definitely don't lack motivation to promote Mega Evolution as a mechanic, so I'll definitely continue to make this series until the end of time if I need to. Hopefully you guys will stick with me throughout. I do have to say though, I'm pleasantly surprised that some of the suggestions I've made in previous Make a Mega episodes actually were implemented in some way or form by Game Freak into Pokemon Sword and Shield. In episode 1, the Noctowl episode, I mentioned that Noctowl should have access to Calm Mind because that move was inexplicably absent from Noctowl's move pool, but as of Sword and Shield, it can learn not only Calm Mind, but also Nasty Plot. 2 very welcome additions to Noctowl's move pool. In addition to that, in my Machamp episode, I mentioned that Mega Machamp should have an ability where once it hits the field, it automatically gets an attack boost, an ability which I thought might be too broken at the time, but Game Freak actually implemented it as an ability in Sword and Shield as the ability Intrepid Sword. So you might just look at these as a series of coincidences, but I think it's pretty safe to say that Game Freak watches my videos, so why don't you just stop teasing us, Game Freak, and bring back Megas, please? Thanks. Anyway, that's all I have for today. I don't really have an idea for my next episode of Make a Mega, so I may look through some old comments to see if I can conjure up some ideas. But in the meantime, why don't you guys leave suggestions of your own in the comments for what I should do for future episodes of Make a Mega. And with that, I'm going to get on out of here. So until that time, thank you for watching, guys. Stay safe and be sure to have a good day, guys.